Good morning. Pretty good, thank you. And welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am the Reverend Dana Worsna, minister of this inspired and inspiring community, committed to keeping love in all its glorious expressions at the center of our lives and the way we move in the world. It is so good to see all here together, no matter how you got yourself into the sanctuary, on foot, on wheels, on Zoom or YouTube, stepping with care or with twinkling heels, and whether you're here right now or this is Wednesday morning. We are a community of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders, and all are welcome here, including all fathers, mothers, parents, and all who have been fathered, mothered, parented. All are welcome this day. We preface our service by acknowledging that our building rests on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Chumash peoples. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that cries out for justice and for responsible stewardship. And in so remembering, may we find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and all her peoples. A couple of announcements. The congregation will be voting after the service today on which organizations for the offerings that we will give money to over the next 4 months. You can get your ballot on the way into the community room, which is through either of those sets of doors. And you can put them in the ballot box that is by the bagels in our community room, Berg Hall. And Sue Brinkmeyer will also be there for any questions that you might have. Next, our UUA General Assembly starts this week on Wednesday. Actually, it starts on Thursday. You can still register. And then next Sunday, we will be Zooming the service, and we'll be worshiping with UUs from across the country, Zooming here in the sanctuary. And I will join you for that service, and then I will be gone the very next day, actually probably at about noon, until August 6th, because I'm taking my summer break, except for the week that I will be at family camp up in the San Bernardino Mountains. And speaking of that, up at Camp de Vanderville Pines at Family Camp, which is July 20th through 27th, I'm going to be the minister. So there's still room to sign up for that one. So if you want to go to family camp, and wow, do we define family as broadly as necessary. Lastly, the every other year, election year project of the UUA called UU the Vote is getting underway. So be on the lookout for announcements about that. It is a letter writing campaign which we send letters to encourage people to vote. And in this critical election, when there doesn't necessarily, voting is one thing, but encouraging people to vote is just a little bit more. And so we will be doing that again. Here we have gathered, creating a community that has never been quite like this ever before, and will never be again in quite this configuration. Yet over time, these configurations that we create, it is also, over time, it is ever the same and as holy one Sunday as the next. And so with that sense of holy gathering, let us enter sacred space.
Hope that's right. I'm Worship Associate Celia Ortenberg. We invite those of you who are Zooming or streaming into this service to light a candle or a chalice at home as Reverend Dana lights the chalice of our free faith here in this sanctuary. We begin our service today with these words adapted from Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich. For the fathers and the father figures, the grandfathers, the uncles, the extended family member who father, the soon-to-be fathers, the wish they were fathers, the never wanted to be fathers, the it's complicated fathers. The foster fathers, adoptive fathers, stepfathers, used to be mom fathers, and more than one dad fathers. The single fathers, the separated fathers, the stay-at-home fathers, the unhoused fathers. The grieving fathers, those who grieve for their fathers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the fathers, you are held and beloved.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Carolyn Bierke, the music director, and I want to welcome you all here in the sanctuary and online. Our opening hymn is Bring Many Names. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing. Bring many names, beautiful and good, celebrating parable and story, holiness in glory, loving God,
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jerry. I'd like to invite all those young at heart and young literally to come on up. Very cool. Full house. Excellent. A few faces I recognize. I'm Jerry Mendelson, and I'm going to read a story to you today that is entitled Harris Finds His Feet by Catherine Rayner. Harris was a very small hare with very big feet. Now, do we all know what a hare is? I mean, you can tell by looking at the picture, right? But some of you, what do you sometimes use another word for what a hare is? Rabbit. Rabbit? Yeah, bunny? Bunny, all right. Anyway, it's the same animal. Harris was a very small hare with very big feet. Why do I have such enormous feet, Granddad? Harris sighed. All hares have big feet, young Harris, said Granddad with a whiskery smile. I'll show you why. Granddad hopped high into the sky. Harris copied. His small, clumsy bounces grew bigger and better and higher until he could spring like Granddad into the air. Then Granddad took Harris up, up, up to the very tops of the mountains. With your strong feet, he said, you can hop to the top of the world and look at where the birds fly as the wind tickles your whiskers. Granddad showed Harris all the best things, like how to dig a cool resting place in the earth when the days were hot. They stretched out together through long, lazy afternoons, listening to the insects buzzing and humming around them. Look, Granddad, Harris said, my feet can shade me from the sun. Some pretty big feet, huh? Every day, Harris learned more about his world. When a wolf came near, Granddad sat still as a stone. The most important thing about your big feet, he whispered, is they help you to run very fast. So Harris ran, feeling the bounce in his feet and the stretch in his legs. He ran faster and faster, as fast, until he was on his own. Granddad, Harris cried, hopping back. Why aren't you running with me? Because I'm growing old, little Harris. It's your turn to run. The world is yours to explore. And Harris ran, leaping over streams and bouncing through meadows on his big, strong feet that would take him to the end of the world and back home again. So what do you think this story tells us? Maybe that we have things to hear from our dads and granddads and other people that maybe help us grow up and learn how to experience different things as we get bigger too? I think so too.
Thanks, Granddad.
So now let's sing our children out to their RE classes. Please rise as you're willing and able and face the center aisle to form a bridge of love for our children to pass under. If you're new, just follow along.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace
My name is Don Henniger. I have been a member of this congregation since 2017. I'm a member of the board of directors and also serve as a facilitator of covenant groups, among many other things. I'm so excited to be here today to talk about pride and proud. On the morning of August 28th, 1974, on the 4th floor of the Ventura County Hospital, I became a dad. My first glimpse of this new little life, my daughter, produced terror. She was delivered quietly and the color of eggplant. The unknown attending intern quickly flipped the umbilical cord, snapped and slapped her on the back, filling the room and my heart with loud, healthy, rose-colored wails. This first meeting of the single most important person in my life, our first moments of breathing the same air, was a mix of that terror immediately giving way to a joyful, life-altering peak experience. This small 7-pound child entered the world slated to be reared in a most unstable family. After 4 years of marriage, I needed to live more congruently as a man who loved other men, and we were discussing separating when we became pregnant. 3 years after increasing unworkable family situation, my daughter, Hope Marlena Henniger, and I left California and moved to the small college town of Yellow Springs, Ohio, where I finished my undergraduate work at Antioch College. It was this time, my salad days in the most liberal small town in Ohio, that an insecure dad and a small child needing stability found our true home. Decades later, I see how that experience as a young dad shaped my moral development. And as a side note, today's New York Times had an article. My research lab investigates how the brain changes when men become fathers, and we are increasingly finding that fatherhood can be transformative for their brains and their bodies. Psychologist Darby Saxby writes. Decades later, this experience as a young dad shaped my moral development, my spiritual growth, and my worldview. It's also true that joy existed alongside with discrimination. I endured as a gay dad and the privileges I enjoyed as a man. In 1977, a single man raising a child wasn't common. Being a gay man raising a child, even less so. My most cherished grandmother cruelly told me that it was morally wrong for me to not let that child be with their mother. An opinion that I heard from many others in equally unkind ways. On the other hand, my status as a single male dad got me perks from college, not the least being the free ride scholarship, but also in more subtle ways. I never had to do such plebeian student things as standing in line at a bookstore or registering for classes. I automatically got priority because maybe I was a dad, but maybe because I was a white man. I was warmly welcomed into the community of young moms at Antioch College Lab School, where Hope attended pre-K through 3rd grade, also on free scholarship. I belonged to the vegetarian food co-op, shared childcare, didn't need a car, we rode bikes everywhere. For a time, we lived and worked in commune with other adults who shared our combined 8 children. I also received ridiculously unwarranted heaps of praise for simply caring and rearing my child. I was a privileged male and benefited from patrimony. I got rewarded for doing what millions of moms do every day without reward, and often with social stigma, demonized as welfare moms. But I was also proud, engaged, happy, and truly loved being a homemaker. Thrift store finds furnished our tiny apartment and wardrobes. I lived very close to my moral values in a very simple way. My experience as a dad shaped my moral development, my spiritual growth, and my worldview. From this period, on Hope's 4th birthday until she was 9 or so, we both look back on a bucolic, peaceful life, idyllic in most ways, certainly those associated with parenting. I defined myself as a dad. It was my job, my purpose, my identity. Living life more authentically as a man, loving other men, wasn't as easy as being a dad. How could I be a doting dad and a gay warrior to other 20-something-year-olds, gay men? I was a curiosity, not really boyfriend material. Navigating others' unkind assumptions became a skill. Parent-teacher conferences were occasions to correct educators who repeatedly treated Hope as the poor little girl with no mommy. I was labeled a slacker when a professor wrote a grad school recommendation for me, noting, "As a dad, Don is distracted from study." But our lives moved on, and after graduation, Hope and I moved to New Hampshire for me to attend graduate school. She was nearing adolescence. We naturally spent less time together. I began to lose my dad identity and began to see work as my identity. When we left New England and moved back to California, I started my career in earnest, and we were now much more a typical family, with Dad working long hours and Hope very independent teen. Hope graduated from Ventura High School and attended San Francisco State. She has been in a committed relationship with another woman for 14 years, and I am so lucky they live with me. I continue to be a dad, but caretaker roles have kind of reversed. Nothing that I've ever done has been as rewarding, as scary, as naturally fulfilling to my soul as being a dad. I found purpose, unconditional love, and the meaning in my life. Hope was born perfect. I am grateful and proud to have shared most of my life with a kind, gentle, creative, beautiful woman who will always be my little girl. My legacy in this world is leaving it a much better place because Hope lives in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Every Sunday, this congregation gives away the offering plate to an organization in the larger community or to funds to help people in our own church. Those at home have two ways to give, through the link posted in the chat or by texting ASSIST from your phone at 844-901-1779. Folks who were present in the sanctuary can text to give, or you can still write a check or give cash and then drop it in the basket at the rear of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering today goes to the School on Wheels in Ventura. This organization provides free tutoring and mentoring for K through 12 children who are living in shelters, motels, vehicles, group foster homes, or on the streets in Ventura County. Children who are homeless are 9 times more likely to repeat a grade and 4 times more likely to drop out entirely. Sadly, 1 out of every 20 children in California does not have a home. School on Wheels is there to help. They train and match volunteer tutors to the students based on schedule, locations, and expertise for one-on-one weekly tutoring. School on Wheels also provides school supplies, scholarships, and support for parents. Angela Sanchez is a School on Wheels board member, and she received help from a volunteer tutor when she was growing up. She says that the connection with her tutor was the best thing that happened to her while she was homeless. They have maintained a constant relationship ever since. School on Wheels volunteers make a difference in the lives of students who are experiencing homelessness. They help them learn and encourage them to dream. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do.
So this song is for all of you out there who at any times in your life have helped children grow, spread their wings, and take flight. You tucked them in, turned out the light, kept them safe and sound at night. Little ones depend on things like that. You brushed their teeth and combed their hair. You had to drive them everywhere. You were always there when they looked back. You had to do it all for them, make a living, make a home. Must have been as hard as it could be. And when they couldn't sleep at night, scared things wouldn't turn out right, you would hold their hands and sing this song. Caterpillar in a tree, how you wonder who you'll be. Can't go far, but you can always dream. Wish you may and wish you might. Don't you worry, hold on tight. I promise you there will come a day. Butterfly, fly away. Butterfly, fly away.
Butterfly, fly away.
Got your wings, now you can't stay. Take those dreams and make them all come true. Butterfly, fly away.
Fly away.
You've been waiting for this day. All along you've known just what to do. Butterfly, 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 fly away.
I looked away and back again. All of a sudden you were grown. Don't know how it got so far so fast. Caterpillar in the tree, how you wondered who you'd be. You've gone far and made some dreams come true. Wish you may and wish you might. Don't you worry, hold on tight. We always knew that this day would come. Butterfly, fly away. Butterfly, fly away. Butterfly, fly away.
Got your wings, now on your way. Butterfly, 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 fly away.
Butterfly, fly away.
the generosity of this congregation expresses itself in so many ways and in so many levels. Thank you. Thank you. Together we weave a beautiful tapestry of love that we call community. Thank you.
This is the time in our service when we hold up the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and the sorrows in our hearts, making ripples that are felt throughout the community. You can submit a joy or sorrow for sharing via a link on the website, uuventura.org, or a link in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV This Week. Those received by 8 o'clock on Saturday night will be shared that Sunday. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need in the loving embrace of this beloved congregation. Please feel free to continue to add to the chat even after the silence is ended. Michael and Norma Axman. Reverend Dana will now place one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of your heart. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
So we can get that. All right. Weren't those pictures of the dads and their kids great? Spectacular. My name is Brian Buck, and I have been a member of this congregation since 2002. And what I have learned about having children and being a dad is the question. My child, I hope she gets to pop up here, is Patricia Helen Buck. She goes by the name Patty, and she's named after her grandmothers. And what I've learned is this, that children are not a hobby that can be easily set aside. So don't treat the gift of fatherhood lightly, because it is a gift, and especially if you embrace the opportunity. Whether as a baby, a teen, or an adult, your children need you and your open heart of unconditional love, and you need them too. And that's a choice. And whichever way you decide will impact all the rest of your days. Parenthood is not for everyone, and yet it was my dad who once said to Gretchen and me that your life is incomplete if you don't have children. I thought he was nuts because at the time we were DINK and happy, and if you don't know what that stands for, that's double income, no kids. And yet, in my case, he was right, because I've got to tell you today, I just can't imagine my world without Patty. But let's be clear, loving is not the same as liking. You do not always have to like your kid. And there are plenty of times they make it known that they don't always like you too. You're human, and parenting is challenging, especially given all the other stuff that happens as we age and grow. I choose to embrace fatherhood. I fell in love with it, and with deeply loving my child. And it seems natural to me to do that. And I credit my father for instilling love of family in me as a value. Now, Gretchen and I were 40 when Patty was born. We'd already been married 17 years. Old parents, which may be today's trend. Gretchen and I are members of this church because of Patty, and Patty has taken us to other places we could never have imagined, and rowing is one of those places. A serious conflict that Patty and I had was in her junior year of high school while learning to row at Lake Casitas. Already a big-time sports commitment in our lives, the coach sent the kids home one day to tell their parents that they now had to row on Sundays. I became quite upset about it. I was going to give that coach a piece of my mind, and I mean a real serious piece, because Sundays are a time for church and family. That's what we do. And returning from church that Sunday, Patty told me that if I spoke with the coach, that she didn't think she could ever trust me again. And that's when I parked the car and began to explain my feelings. As a young adult, Patty was beginning to feel the right to be independent. That's how Patty was raised. And cars make great places to have conversations. Kids often say we don't tell them the truth, mostly because we don't think they are mature enough or have enough life experience to understand. So I dug deep and explained that our time together was short, that I am a jealous father. With Patty's busy schedule, I calculated that I was only getting about 2 hours per week of quality time, and that was on Sundays. 2 hours times 52 weeks for 104, that's less than 5 days out of 365. And then Patty would go off to college. Of course, I was angry at the coach who was trimming away my time from this amazing child who was needing to spread their wings and fly away. Well, at the end of our conversation, an hour and a half later, we were both in tears, and love was at the center of our shared lives. You must let them go so that they can become the individual they need to be. You don't own your kids. They're on loan from the universe. And it hurts to let them go. The years are flying. Patty graduated from Tulane University in Louisiana, eventually hired as the program director for East Bay Rowing Club in Oakland, and is now an assistant coach for the University of California, Berkeley Women's Crew, a top 10 national program. Someday, Patty may be a head coach or something completely different. The child, young adult, gets to decide. And we are so very proud of Patty and excited for her future. There's a song often used in UU bridging ceremonies, and it brings lots of tears like the ones I have right now, that expresses my feelings about fatherhood. It is The Circle Game by Joni Mitchell. And it has this part of a lyric: we're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return. We can only look behind from where we came and go round and round in the circle game. And so it goes. Thank you.
I share with you now a poem I wrote some years ago, My Father's Hands. How ironic that I should grow up to date a man with an electronic putting machine. Still, it gave me the opportunity to demonstrate my father's putting technique. With affectionate humor, I tamped down the carpet on either side of the ball, shifted weight from foot to foot, surveyed the plastic cup across the room, looking down at the ball and then back up at the cup, carefully calculating how the nap of the carpet would affect the course of the putt. And out of the past, your hands grasped mine. Soft hands, but firm, encasing mine. wrapping around my hands wrapped around the putter, encircling my body, your head next to mine, voicing putting instruction from within a secure golf embrace. There I was on the course with you once more, a Michigan summer day, big cloud sky, holding the flag as you chipped from just off the green, or finishing your putts when the ball stopped short, peered curiously over the rim, but refused to drop into the dark metal cup. I never used my father's lessons for golf, except to entertain my friends, because he was just a singular man. The humor of all of this was lost, however, on the man with the electronic putting cup. An avid golfer, he nodded seriously and conferred on the carpet with my absent father, conscious of the importance of golf wisdom. How conscious was I of wisdom imparted? How conscious was I of the love imparted by my father's hands? I invite you now into a time of meditation. Notice your breath. Let it fall into a natural rhythm. Acknowledging the complexities, for good and ill, in our relationships with our fathers and with our children. What wisdom and love did you learn from your own father? How have you carried all that you learned, particularly as you relate to the children in your life? A silent meditation.
Hi, I'm Chuck Szymanski, and I've been a member here, gosh, I don't know, 18, 20 years, and been fairly involved in the church. Some of you know something about my childhood. It's kind of been an open book. For those of you who don't, the short version is that my mother died when I was born, and I was left in an incubator. The hospital named me because my father disappeared. From there, I was sent to my grandmother, who physically abused me. An aunt saw that and took me to her home. But her husband was a mean alcoholic, and there was a constant and sometimes violent argument with my uncle screaming, "Get him out of here. He doesn't belong here. He's just eating our food." At age 8, my dad reappeared and took me from my aunt's house and retrieved my sister in a different household and married my stepmother. And we moved into her house. That's when my life took a nosedive. She made it clear in thousands of ways that we were not welcome in her house. My sister and I hated our childhood and begged our father to take us away from there. But he would shush us in saying we would not have a place to live. So in my childhood, wherever I was, I never, not for a moment, felt like I belonged, and never did anyone tell me I was loved. This deprivation made it clear to me what would be essential to be a real dad. In March of 1976, our son Andrew came along. He's sitting there with his wife Kate and our dear grandson Luke. Hi, Luke. We wanted Andrew very much. I was assigned to help Susan through her Lamaze birthing technique, but instead took photos of the birth. As the doctor and nurse were positioned to catch Andrew, and his face began to be visible, without thinking, I loudly spurted out, "Andrew, you will never see one moment of my childhood." Both the doctor's and the nurse's heads snapped around to see who said that, as if to say, "What was that all about?" Andrew is now 48 years old. At the end of life, I believe that I will be able to say to myself that Andrew never did see or experience one moment of my childhood. We raised Andrew every day, trying our best to prepare him for life. We educated him, counseled him, provided for him, maybe even too much. But that was far, far less important as us telling him in every possible way how much we wanted him and how much we loved him. I don't think Andrew ever felt unloved or unwanted for one moment, even through difficult times. To this day, we tell each other, "I love you," almost every day, usually more than once. And oh my, how being his dad has enriched my life and has manifested itself in so many ways. Once, with Andrew doing all of the planning and almost all of the 15,000 miles of driving in 67 days, he and I saw a complete baseball game in all 30 parks, 3 Vietnam memorials, the Hall of Fame, the Field of Dreams, and many other special events together. When I retired, our secretary, Cindy, arranged for a party and made a video recording of people in my life saying a few words. They were all heartfelt, but the one that stood out to me was Andrew, who said, in effect, "Dad, you were so busy with work. I don't know how you did it, but you were always there for me. Every game, event, everything, always." He completely surprised us with a very large 50th wedding anniversary party. That tells me everything about how he feels about his parents. And oh my, what a joy it is to go to a Broadway show. See your son out there performing. Being a dad has been so rewarding, so fulfilling and exciting that I can't imagine how empty a life I would have had without it. And I think Andrew has benefited from feeling wanted and loved because, here's the best part, Kate and Andrew now have a son, Luke. They love our little Luke, who turned 7 3 days ago. And it is obvious to me that they already have ingrained in Luke, with words and acts, a deep sense of feeling wanted and loved. And I predict Luke will one day return that love to them, as our son has to us. That warms my entire being and completes my life as a dad. Thank you.
And now I have to sing? Thing about music is it doesn't stop for you to cry a little bit. We'll see how it goes. Excuse me. Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. Careful the wish you make. Wishes are children. Careful the path they take. Wishes come true, not free. Careful the spell you cast, not just on children. Sometimes the spell may last past what you can see and turn against you. Careful the tale you tell, that is the spell. Children will listen.
Andrew, I thought you'd go great right after your dad, and I wasn't thinking about the whole thing. Did not put that together. Thank you.
Don, Brian, Chuck, I am so moved by your stories. Even better, I saw them on the page, and even better in
living, breathing your love. Thank you. And other men in the congregation have shared some of their feelings about fatherhood in the last few days, and I am moved by all of your stories. Moved in part because your stories have countered the stereotypes that our culture holds of men and masculinity and fatherhood. Although I realize what you really were doing is simply filling in wide gaps in those narratives, expanding what it can mean to be a father, especially in such wildly changing and challenging times. And today I speak a tiny bit about the daughter of a father who was a man of his generation, serving in World War II and then coming home to become the father of 4 baby boom children. He worked hard to support his family. After sometimes 12 and 14-hour days, he would come home impatient and short-tempered. And yet my father, like Chuck, was determined to be a better father than his own, who had been dictatorial, selfish, and volatile. And my father only went to college because of the GI Bill, and he was determined that he would put all his children through college. His temper could flare, though it passed almost as quickly. And I taught my father a few things too, perhaps akin to what your kids have taught you. Thinking of Patty, relating to Patty, because I'm not sure my dad ever recovered from the surprise that the athletic son that he imagined turned out to be his daughter. More than anything, my father taught me how to live. He was honest and fair and straightforward. He worked hard and played hard. He gave generously of his time, his money, his laughter, and his spirit. My dad would sometimes drag me out on the front porch in my pajamas and bare feet, his arm around my shoulder, shaking me. Isn't it a wonderful morning? Isn't it great to be alive? My withering eye roll did nothing to dampen his enthusiasm. And yes, he is the man who sometimes tried to teach me golf. I never really took up golf because he would also advise me anytime I threatened, he'd say, "Don't do it, dear, don't do it." But always I felt held and loved and secure in his tender golf embrace. Fathers and fatherhood are changing along with so many things in our times. It can feel like the cultural ground is constantly shifting beneath our feet, and all we can do is keep walking with as much grace and love as we can manage. Walt Whitman told us more than a century ago, re-examine all you have been told at school or church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your soul, and your very flesh shall be a great poem. I thank all the fathers today for walking with such grace, and in particular, Chuck, Brian, Don, for sharing the poetry of your lives as fathers. Amen. May it be so.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing "Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky." Touch the earth and reach the sky. Walk on shores while spirits fly. Over the ocean, over the land, our faithful quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky. Children ask the reasons why. In our lives, the answer show and grow. Touch the earth, reach the sky. All are born and all shall die. Life's the time in between. We follow a star and build a dream. Touch the earth and reach the sky. Touch the earth, reach the sky. Reach the sky.
Please join me in reading the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into ours until we are together again. Everyone in the sanctuary today is invited for coffee, tea, or bagels and conversation in Berg Hall through the double doors. And those who are visitors or guests are invited to stop by the connecting table for a chat. If you also remember to pick up the ballot to vote on the organizations for our future offerings. If you have checks or cash for the offering today, please place them in the box at the back of the sanctuary.
I leave you with the words of Mark Twain. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished by how much he'd learned in 7 years. Go forth in love, go forth in peace. Happy Father's Day. May it be so.